Hello, Flirties, and welcome to this brand new episode of Flirtations. Signing on here at Flirt Headquarters, my name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach. And Gay Libra, the conversation I have for you today, all about love bombing, such a buzzworthy term out there in dating and relationships, how we can spot this in others, how we can spot this in ourselves. Oop, that's part of it. What it is not, and why people do it in the first place. Our guest today, Kelsey Wonderlin, so much amazing information coming for you. But before we get to the full conversation, Flirties, thank you. Thank you for listening, for tuning in, for streaming, wherever you are in the world, for checking out the show that we call Flirtations as we spread the energy of connection and flirting all over the globe. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you have, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. It helps me immensely to grow the show more than you could ever know. Just really, really thank you for being here and checking out these episodes. Please share this one or another favorite episode of Flirtations with someone you want to share some BFE, big flirt energy with. All right, check. Now let's get into the full conversation with Kelsey Wonderlin. Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, we're getting into one of the most confusing yet sometimes intoxicating dating experiences out there. It's love bombing. You know that rush when someone comes on strong with over-the-top attention, affection, and promises? At first, it can feel magical, like you finally found the one, but beneath the surface, love bombing can be manipulative, destabilizing, and even harmful. To help us understand what love bombing really is and what it isn't, we're joined by Kelsey Wonderlin. Kelsey is a licensed therapist and dating coach who has worked with thousands of women to build healthier dating lives. Her work has been featured in the New York Times and the Today Show, and today she's here to help us get to the root of why love bombing happens, how we respond to it, and how we can tell the difference between genuine interest and love bombing. We'll talk about the red flags to look out for, how to recognize when we're love bombing ourselves, how the spark plays into all of this, and the tools you can use to slow things down and stay focused on the connection without wasting your time. So if you've ever wondered what the heck is love bombing, or you're looking for clarity around how this plays out in dating, this episode is for you. All right, Flirties, let's do this. And meet Kelsey.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach and a Gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today, we welcome Kelsey Wonderlin. Kelsey is a licensed therapist and dating coach, and through her coaching programs and training guides has coached over 3,000 women in dating. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, Time, the Today Show, and CBC Radio Canada. And today she's here to have a conversation with us about love bombing. Hi, Kelsey, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Thank you for making the time to record for Flirtations today as we discuss something that has not been covered on the show, but but every dater is going to experience probably, right?
Yeah.
And that's love bombing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it's kind of a trendy term right now, but it's still, I think, pretty misunderstood. And a lot of my clients will miss sort of nuanced flags that I know we'll get into all of that, but I think it's going to be really helpful.
I'm like, one of my questions here, I'm like, as we get into the conversation, has love bombing, like, how did we get here, right? Has it always been a part of dating? Is it something that has come along with the digital revolution of dating, with the apps and social media, which aren't new anymore? Does that make it easier to love bomb? I don't know. We've got lots to get into, but before we do, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. If you could share some of your inspiration for the work you do.
Yeah, totally. So I was always obsessed with relationships, like from a young age. I remember like riding around on a golf cart with my best friend when we were 15.
Yeah.
And we would just talk for hours about like boys and like trying to figure out like what, you know, how do you know if this is like your person and like, are they compatible or like, is this okay? Or, I mean, just there's no education around it, basically, is what I've learned. And then going into my early 20s, I was got my bachelor's in psychology and then went on to do my master's to become a therapist. And so I'm in Nashville doing that and I'm dating and I'm realizing that even though I'm in school to learn this, I'm still ending up in situationships, like accepting the bare minimum, having no idea what to focus on, choosing guys because oh, we like had chemistry and we both love tennis and he has abs. Like literally that was the standard. So I just became really passionate about trying to find information to help myself. And then once I kind of figured that out, to also help other people. And so I took like what I was learning in my master's program and kind of piecemealed all of this stuff together, and definitely learned by a lot of trial and error. I actually like was going on dates with guys who didn't align with my values, and I would kind of get on the date and then they'd want to argue with me about like women's issues or feminism or something like that. So I actually just I kind of had a fuck it moment. And on dating apps, I just said, okay, I'm going to put like more controversial, socially unacceptable things in my profile and see what happens. And I'm going to ask every guy a question for the first message instead of like, hey, how are you? So in my profile, I had like feminist, not religious, introspective, thinker, feeler, wonderer, and everything is socially constructed. And that was sort of like, that's who I am in the deeper side. And then I asked every man a question. Do you consider yourself feminist? Because that's what I kept running into that I wanted to weed out sooner. And so what I found is it was really effective, because some guys would say, no, men can't be feminist. And I was like, oh, thank you, next. That's not for me. Some guys would say, well, maybe, but like, I don't really know what that means. Like, can you tell me more? And I was like, love that you want to learn. Don't want to be in the educator's seat. Thank you, next. And then I had guys like my husband who were like, absolutely fuck yes. Like, I love that you asked that question. Right. And that really just clarified for me who was worth even chatting with and then meeting in real life. And that led me to find my husband. So that's now what I teach. Like, I started using it with clients in therapy who were coming to me about dating. And I was like, I think this is allowed, but this doesn't really feel like therapy. And then I realized like it was working for other people. So that's the crux of like my dating app strategy. But then there's all of this other deeper stuff too, of not ever being taught what to look for and to know what to pay attention to in a partner, including red flags.
I got a couple follow-up questions here. I'm curious to learn a little bit more about the psychology of attraction and what you learn and what you've experienced and what you teach your clients, because there's not a lot of formal education and training in this, or we're looking to, I'm a classic millennial, the Disney movies, right? I'm looking to Lifetime that I used to watch with my mom, and all the dating reality shows, The Bachelor, and now Love Island. I don't know that any of these are great teachers for what relationships look like in real life. And so one of the things we do is you're on an app, you're on a first date, whatever, and that getting to know you phase of dating. And you like chocolate. Fantastic. Me too. We must be meant to be, right? You start to develop compatibility around things that you have in common, which is great. But there's more to it. And so what's a tip or two here about the psychology of attraction? Like, how can we really look for compatibility in those early phases?
Yeah, so it makes perfect sense that we start out with those things, because that's how we socialize and that's how we get to know somebody. Where are you from? What do you do? What do you like? What do you like to do? What kind of music do you like? So it makes sense. But what we know is that those are not the things that are the glue in a relationship, right? Those are not the qualities that predict long-term compatibility. So those are going to be things more like your core values, identities, which is more of who you are instead of what you like to do. So that was where in my profile I put, thinker, feeler, wonderer. Those were kind of identities that I was attaching myself to, as well as feminist. And then your worldviews. So how do you see the world? The lens through which you think about things. And for me, that was my statement of like, everything is socially constructed. And my husband latched onto that one. I actually didn't even get to ask him my weed out question, because he messaged me. This was back in the days of like Hinge didn't exist. Bumble was new. We were on Tinder, but he super liked me. And I think that was like free at the time. I think they were still figuring out like they could charge people for these things. But he super liked me, and he sent me a message in all caps that said everything is socially constructed with like the hands raising emoji. Like he loved to see that in my profile. And I always tell clients this comes up all of the time. I would say on a weekly basis, if not more, in the way that we, between like our identities as feminists and everything is socially constructed, it comes up a lot. Like we encounter someone out in the world and we're both looking at each other and we know exactly what we're thinking about it, or especially living in Nashville in the South. It comes up a lot, or especially around like holidays and gift giving. We're like, I mean, are we doing gifts this year? Is there anything you want for your birthday? Like we're pretty realist, romantic in other ways, but I think it's really important to look at those things more than what do we like to do? You're going to find things that you like to do together. Now, the pushback that I always get on this is like, if I'm like a big rock climber, or like there's something that I do and it's like I do it like every day, it's like part of my lifestyle. Sure, like that matters. If you're a super active person, you can't be with like a couch potato, most likely. I mean, there are cases where that works. So you have to think about what is it that I want and need out of my partner. And sometimes that does come back to lifestyle too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I understand that pushback. I hear that sometimes as well.
Yeah.
But it's like starting to date beyond the checklist, right?
Right.
Asking those, even if you're asking some of those interview style questions at first, which are all good. I feel like sometimes daters feel like, well, I don't want to be boring, or I don't want to do like that style of first date. But it's like, you can just like get into it. You can ask some of those pretty basic questions. It's okay. Yeah. And then if there's at least some level of interest, compatibility, like mutual interest between the two of you, the conversation will evolve, and then you'll start to go a little bit deeper. Hopefully.
That's right.
Not all the time. Sometimes.
Yeah. And I always say that like dating apps work differently. Like you can start with a weed out question, because the, hey, how are you? It doesn't lead anywhere. And so you're going to get more traction. I find some people don't like the question, obviously, but that's also part of the weeding out. But yeah, it's certainly on a date, like you can ask weed out style questions if you want, but you can also bring it up in a way that's like, I was listening to this podcast this week and I learned this, and like, that just blew my mind. You can talk about things that are relevant in your life that you're passionate about, or you find interesting, that deeper way to bring that up.
Yeah. And shout out to the South. I'm just one state over.
I was just listening to one of your episodes. Yeah, where you talked about that. And I was like, yeah, I did peg you for LA or New York City. That's so true. What you said in that episode about people always think that that's where you're from.
Yeah, no. I'm just chilling down here in the South. It's hard to leave. I love it so much.
I get it. I get it.
I don't know if it's maybe the pace of life, or just, where we are, like, or at least in North Carolina. I could be at the beach in a couple hours. I could be in the mountains. It's just overall, I find a little bit easier without feeling like there's not enough to do.
Yeah, I get that.
But I'm also like not trying to be a Broadway actor or a film producer. Like I'm not necessarily in an industry where I have to be in an LA or New York to like quote unquote make it. With doing this, we can be wherever we want.
That's right. 99% of the time I'm working in my pajamas anyways, like 100%. At my house, Like,
I am business on the top today, pajamas on the bottom.
Yeah. Always.
All right. I got to ask you one more question here about your dating app strategy. I feel like the flirties are going to be interested to hear more about this. A lot of them are on the dating apps and using them. And so a part of that strategy, why do you feel like it was so effective? Because we're all told to be ourselves, be authentic. So talking a little bit more about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason that it works is I always see people are using dating apps, especially now that they've been around for a while, almost like a social media app. It's like pretty mindless. It's pretty unintentional for the most part. Even if you start out with great intentions, like a lot of times we end up swiping just like while we're watching TV or whatever. So I think that in my experience, you're going to get the best result if you can stand out in some way. So I'm a big fan of crafting your profile, not for the sake of being bold, but for really like thinking about what are those maybe more controversial things that really are important to you. And if you're comfortable to put them out there, the reason it works is because it immediately tells the right people for you, they see it and they're like, what a breath of fresh air. Oh my gosh. Like this person thinks just the way that I do.
Yeah.
And the people who are not for you, usually they pass you by. Sometimes they match you to be emotionally immature and say something about your profile that they don't like, which is so blows my mind.
Yeah.
But I think that works. And then reaching out with more than just liking the profile. Like even I work with mostly women, my clients, I encourage them, like, go ahead and leave the comment on the Hinge profile with the weed out question, but not just like, hey, do you consider yourself feminist? I mean, that actually worked when I was dating, but I don't think that works as well now. You have to kind of couch it in like a nicer message, which like I have a whole template for and everything to make it like, hey, you know, love your profile and got a deeper question for you. Are you ready for it?
Yeah. And I think that's something daters are a strategy they want, as like I hear all the time. I'm sure you do too. Well, I don't want to waste my time. Like I don't want to go back and forth on an app forever. Like I don't want to, potentially be talking with someone that I'm not even going to go on a date with.
Yeah.
And so if we could just almost, it's like social media-fying the dating apps.
Yeah.
In a sense, where one of the strategies sometimes that we're told as creators is like open the video in the middle of a story. Right. So instead of like, I woke up and, I was kind of tired, but I made my coffee and then, I ran out of creamer and I like creamer in my coffee. So I had to throw on, some shoes and get my keys and go to the grocery store. No one cares.
Right.
Jump right to it. You know what? I was at the store and they had a brand new creamer for me to try today. I think I'm going to do this. And then maybe you open in the middle of the story. And you can kind of do that with, it sounds like this strategy is doing a little bit of that.
100%. It's like grabbing attention, but in a way that's authentic to you. Your profile should never sound like somebody else wrote it. It should sound 100% like you.
Yeah.
But it's just getting to those deeper qualities that are just like, they're going to stand out because everybody's talking about, I love travel and 2 truths and a lie. And it's like, oh my God, people do not want to guess your 2 truths and a lie. They don't know you. They're not invested in finding that out. Right. So people are like, I have this like witty prompt. Why isn't it, and that's the reason I think. So people who are taking dating seriously, they're going to love, and who are aligned with your values, they're going to love seeing that come through in your profile.
All right. We are going to switch gears here, but for more dating app support, I'm going to have some links in the show notes below for the episode. I'm trying to remember from your website, is that one of your free guides?
Yeah, I have a free training. Yeah. I have a free training on it.
Okay.
It's the 3 things you need in your dating app bio, which I did just say, but I also teach you a little bit more about how to use them in there.
More about it. Yeah. You're going to get, you're actually going to kind of like go through it and do it, get some more information and context.
Yes.
All right, Flirties. After this, if you're on the apps, you know where to go.
Yeah.
And now we got to get into love bombing. That's what I said.
I know. I'm like, actually, we're here to talk about something totally different, but
this tends to happen where, we gotta get to know you a little bit, but then, I just can't help it, Kelsey. I'm a naturally curious person.
I love that. I've been on a few podcasts and I like this much more than like, we must get to all of the questions and it's a little dry. So I like having more of a conversation.
Yeah. It gets to be a little, I used to do that format, more interview, like QA back and forth, like we're in the ping pong or tennis match. And for the flirties that are like, just get to it, here you are. Or they've already fast forward through the introduction.
Yeah.
All right. Love bombing.
Yes.
We got to start with some grounding, with some context. So how would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say love bombing is just a showering of attention or affection or gifts, even compliments, and then pulling it away at some point, like having a big pivot to it as well.
Okay.
So, I think that's a big element that people miss sometimes. But I know we'll get more into this, but I think there's a lot of misconception that anything that's intense is love bombing and that it has that intention behind it to manipulate and kind of give love and then take it away. That is what love bombing is. It is a tactic to get someone kind of hooked on you and then you have them under your control a bit. And then you start to bring out the manipulation or the abusive behavior that they're more likely to put up with now because you've hooked them into you. Then you deliver some intermittent reinforcement, which is like a slot machine of like, they never know when you're going to actually show them more of that affection again. So they stick around for it.
Yeah. This is what I've learned is one of the key distinctions between between love bombing and something like, oh, they're excited, or, oh, right, they're just expressing interest, which may be a lot of interest, but not exactly love bombing. It's they're trying, like, there's this manipulative component to it where they're trying to create this, like, for you, an emotional dependence on them. And so, like, one of the distinctions here is, like, say you're getting to know someone, right? We're in the early dating phase, yay, and they want to go out on a Friday night. And you're like, you know, setting some boundaries. Hey, I've actually already got plans. I'm hanging out with friends or family, or maybe I need a night to myself. Crazy week at work. Can we get together Saturday, Sunday, something like that? Instead of being okay with that, they can be disappointed. They're not going to get to see you, but then trying to convince you to change your mind, or trying to guilt you to change your mind, trying to control the narrative and shape your experience because somehow you're wrong. Right. Somehow you're denying them something. That is where, like, that's a subtle love bombing strategy where it's not just always this, you know, I love you, let's get married on a first date. There's a little bit more to it.
100%. And there's such a spectrum here, because you could have somebody who's very, very interested, never bought you a big bouquet of flowers, never took you on a lavish trip, never said, let's get married, but is kind of up your ass. And then says to you when you set a boundary, oh, are you really going to, like, you know, miss out on X, Y, and Z with me? Like, that guilt tripping, that's just an unhealthy behavior regardless. And that doesn't necessarily mean it was love bombing. So I think it's more important to know what are the red flags in general that we're dealing with someone who's not healthy and who is manipulative or controlling. And, like, whether they love bombed you before they did that is almost irrelevant, right? I know people like to understand, but I'm a big fan of, like, even in the therapy world, of, like, okay, rather than diagnosis, which can be helpful, what are the symptoms? Like, what's literally coming up every single day that's getting in the way? And let's focus on shifting that. And if the diagnosis is helpful, it's helpful, but let's not get stuck there. Like, is this love bombing or is it not? Is this working for you? Is this healthy behavior? Whether it meets that full criteria for love bombing, which is just it's not a real clinical thing, by the way. It's not like a real love bombing is not a thing you meet criteria for in the DSM or anything like that. But like, I think just not getting too fixated on it is important. Yeah,
that's a good point. No one's going to be diagnosed.
No,
it's not.
No, that's not a real. Condition. It's not a clinical term.
not a thing in that regard. All right, I've got to stay here for a minute. What are some of those red flag behaviors that may coincide with love bombing? Some of those symptoms of love bombing that you may look for in others.
Yeah. So anything that's moving too fast, where if it feels like, wait, I don't really know this person, but they seem really sure about me. That doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I mean, you'll hear couples say, like, oh, we knew on the second date and here we are, we're married, right? But in a way that feels like it doesn't fit. Like, maybe you're not necessarily feeling that either. You're just getting that from that person, and that validation feels really good that they're sure about you. Other signs and symptoms, I mean, certainly just anything that's moving at a quick pace, again, with, like, you know, let's go and travel and take a trip after we've known each other very short amount of time, especially if this person is paying for the trip, or they're buying you, like, lavish gifts, or they're sending you a huge bouquet of roses after the first or second date. Now, can some of those things end up being totally fine? Sure. But usually there's something to that element of them, especially financing a lot of stuff that they're giving you, where it's a natural human urge when you receive that you feel like you need to give back. And so if you're not in a position to do those kind of things, the only way you're giving back is by loyalty, or, like, sexual favors, or things that you may not actually, by your own choice, have done.
Yeah. All right. I'm curious now, because I made a video recently about the spark, right? And so, because I think so many daters are looking for this immediate gratification, instant connection, spark, chemistry, compatibility, give me everything, tell me everything. They want this all or nothing right away, right? If it's not there, if I'm not attracted, if there's not chemistry, after one date, I'm out, I'm done, I'm gone, right? Block, delete, ghost, whatever you're about to do. And I'm like,
oh my God, we are actually so cooked.
Yeah.
Because it's across the board, across all genders, sexualities.
Yeah.
I'm hearing this from everybody. And yet we all don't want to be love bombed. And yet it seems like that's what we're looking for.
Oh, preach it. I love it. Yes. Yes. I cannot agree with you more. It's just the fixation on the spark is, I do think, again, as a millennial, like someone who also grew up with Disney culture and rom-coms and stuff, I do think that is often where it comes from. So I get it. And it's just so not a requirement for a wildly satisfying partnership. I mean, there's so many happily married couples who will tell you, yeah, our first couple of dates were awkward as fuck. And like, we're glad that we just ran into each other again, or we pushed through that. Right. So I definitely do encourage that. If you look at this person, you're like, I am 0% attracted to them, that's a no. You don't need to force that. Right. But if you're like, okay, you know, they're cute. Okay. They're, you know, let's explore that if we don't see any red flags, because that can, we do know that can grow over time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of like not focusing on that spark, and yeah, it's like, yeah, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, because we're looking for the spark, but we also, if it's too much, it's love bombing. So, I mean, I'm just a big fan of people getting to know each other as humans.
Yeah.
And then let's see what's happening. Let's be clear about what our intentions are. We're both looking for a relationship, but I always tell my clients, you're going on this first date. It's an opportunity to meet a new friend and literally nothing more at this point. That is all that it is. Let's treat it like that and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So how might we flip the script a little bit and see some love bombing tactics within ourselves? Like maybe we're the love bombers. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, if you are somebody who, I mean, I work with probably like the number one thing that I see outside of I can't find anyone decent is I attach too quickly. So like a lot of my clients know that they're doing that, and they want the person to text them daily. They want, they almost like they want the love bombing, or they're doing it too. Like, I've never felt this way about somebody. They're telling all their friends about them. They're already thinking about how this person would fit in with their family. And I'm like, you have met him one time, or you've never met this person yet. You just got excited about their profile, which I get it. I mean, the reason I do this work is because I was there. I was that person attaching myself after 2 dates like he was the last man on earth. So I get it. But yeah, I think women can be love bombers too. And it doesn't, again, it's about the intention. It doesn't necessarily mean they're manipulative or they're trying to be manipulative, but they want that connection and the safety of feeling chosen so badly that they want to bond quickly, feel validated and safe and calm. But you're really building on like an empty foundation. It usually doesn't last.
Yeah. Raising my hand. I used to do all of that as well. We're going to follow each other on socials. I'm going to watch every story. I'm going to like all your posts, right? Can't you just see how much I like you? Right? Can't you see how much I want to be with you?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. We've only met one time, 2 times.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Why not? All or nothing.
Yeah. And especially I think if you have a great date, my clients find it hard not to get ahead of themselves. Once they've had one good experience, they're like, oh my God, this could be it. Like, and I get it, because you're dating seriously. You want to be done with dating. You want to find your person. And it's really encouraging, and it brings you a lot of hope when you have that experience of like, wow, that went really well. Maybe this could be it. And I'm like, okay, maybe it could be a second date. That's where we're at right now. Let's keep one foot on the ground. I always say too, you know 1% or less of this person after one great date. So of what you know of him, be excited about that, but also know there's so much more you need to know. Like, how does he handle his emotions? What is conflict like with him? Does he share your values? What's he like after a bad day? Everybody's bringing their best like representative to the first date. I like to say, so you're not even meeting this person. You're meeting their representative who's on their best behavior. And that's not malicious. That's just human behavior. So we just need to slow it down.
Yeah, we all do that. We're all going to be, at least to some extent, nervous, and yet wanting to put our best foot forward, wanting to make the best first impression we can. We all do it. All right, I think we've gotten some context around what love bombing
is, and that there is this, it's not just the quickness. It's not just about this kind of rushing, kind of those grandiose gestures, if that's a part of this, of like the let's take a trip together right away. If they're buying you like really expensive gifts right away, which there's so much dating advice that says that's high value dating behavior, but I can't.
Don't even get me started on that. The whole term high value for me is just, it's a cringe. Yeah. It's an ick for me.
It's a red flag in and of itself.
Yes, it sure is. I'm like, we are all valuable. It's just about fit. Like there's no like tiering system in this. Yeah.
But there is like, me neither. And with love bombing, there's like, there's this, something I think about is this, like, I don't think all love bombers are narcissists. What do you think about that? No.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, again, it's like the behavior that looks like love bombing may or may not have been intended that way. Yeah. So we can't know somebody else's intentions, thoughts, feelings without asking them directly or them telling us directly. So again, like what I like to tell my clients is, okay, if you're seeing this type of red flag behavior, at worst, we're dealing with somebody who might be truly narcissistic and like really intending to get some control over you. Yeah. But at best, they don't understand healthy pacing and healthy dating. And so either way, it's a no.
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of releasing the needing to know and needing to put them in this box and thinking about, does that work for me? Is this person demonstrating to me that they understand how to go slow and get to know each other over time before we jump in and make any crazy commitments or spend any crazy amount of money?
Yeah. Yeah. If we think we tend to attach quickly, if you relate to that, like we have attached quickly in the past, the love bomber is like attaching quickly on just like rocket fuel or like whatever. Like it's just like an extreme, almost an extreme form where it's like they are trying to create this emotional dependence on them, possibly like manipulate you a little bit, but also like sometimes isolate you, like just bring, like they just want you all for themselves.
That's right. And it's usually very performative too. Like, so I'll give you an example. I had a client recently, she's in New Zealand and she was talking to this American guy who was like considering moving to New Zealand. And then like he actually wasn't going to. And so anyways, he visited and it was understood, like this is casual because he's not willing to move. She's not willing to move.
Okay.
And they had coffee and on the date, they were talking about green flag kind of stuff, like attachment styles and, you know, things that seemed like emotionally intelligent. And then she told me after the date, she was so kind of giddy because he was taking notes during the date about what she was saying. And I was like, oh, I don't see that as a green flag. I think that feels a little weird and performative, especially because we knew this was understood to be casual. He's leaving town in a few days. It would be a little strange if you both were dating with serious intent, but especially because it was casual. And then no surprise, the next day she has literally a doctor's appointment. And he's like, you should cancel it so that we can hang out one more time before I go. And she was like, oh, there's the red flag, you know? So I'm like, okay, do we know what his intent was, whether he's love bombing or not? I'm like, frankly, I don't care. I'm just telling her, get out of there and do not cancel your medical appointment for yourself for this man you met one time who's leaving the country in 2 days, you know, like, so it can be very nuanced like that, but you just have to ask yourself, is this feeling kind of performative or odd? And I've been doing this for 8 years. I mean, it's very easy for me to pick that out. Whereas she was kind of like giddy about it and thought it was really sweet and romantic. So it takes some practice too.
Yeah. Like in that example, that's, you know, possibly her last chance, right? To see this guy. And it sounds like they had a pretty cool date, even though he was taking notes during
like, well, I mean, for women to find a man who knows about attachment styles and who can talk about emotionally intelligent stuff, it's really exciting for my clients because they're having a hard time finding partners like that. But men like that absolutely exist. And there's a lot of other things that get in the way of finding them. But so I think that captivated her quite a lot. So I do think that if this man was a love bomber, like it probably wasn't a coincidence that he chose to talk about those deeper things because it's almost like a little bait and switch. It's like, I think love bombers are getting smarter about what women do want to hear. And it's not anymore. You're so amazing, baby. It's like, what's your attachment style? You know, like that's what.
Gosh, Kelsey. And that gets into this whole part of the conversation where it's like, how vulnerable are we on those initial dates, right? How open are we? Because what if those vulnerabilities and those shares, like we think we're having a green flag, really cool conversation, and then it gets used against us or somehow turned against us. Like, I hear that experience from daters all the time. Yeah. Where's that balance?
I think that you have to share what you are comfortable. This might sound really cutthroat, but you have to share what you're comfortable sharing, knowing under the assumption that you may never see this person again. Because that could happen. That sucks. It shouldn't happen. But it does, where like you have a good conversation on a first date and then the person doesn't even give you the courtesy text of, I'm not interested. They just never text again. And
Right.
They never answer your text or they unmatch you. I mean, I see that a lot too. So I think that you have to have boundaries with yourself where you're honest with yourself that if this never came to be anything after this one date, would I feel comfortable about what I shared?
Yeah. Absolutely. And one thing I do is I will share about myself through storytelling. So maybe it's an experience you had, like I recently started taking improv classes. And so what that's been like, and if they were, if the times I felt nervous, the times I felt anxious, also the times I felt really excited and what went well, what maybe didn't go well. And then I'm going to invite them, the other person, to the conversation. And now you get to share about yourself as well. So it's not just me talking about this super vulnerable or personal experience. It's something like not quite surface level. Like I'm talking about a feeling experience. And now I'm inviting the other person to share as well about a time that they felt nervous doing something new or a time they felt really excited about doing something new. And so I think you can still talk about yourself and be vulnerable and be open without necessarily talking about your trauma or like when your parents divorced or that thing that happened to you as a kid, like those can come out, those stories and experiences can come out over time.
Yeah. And it's always okay to say on a date, oh, you know what? I think I'm not ready to talk about that. Yes, that's something I'll share more. I want to tell you more about as we get to know each other. Even if you stumble upon something that feels like a natural insert this story about parents or trauma, you can if you're really comfortable with it. But if you're not, it's actually okay to just say, oh, I think I was starting to go into something that I'd rather tell you about as we get to know each other.
Yeah.
And if they don't respect that, there's your red flag. So
there's your red flag. Yeah. You can absolutely do that. Yay, boundaries.
Boundaries are red flag revealers. If you're not setting boundaries in dating, you're totally missing opportunities to see how this person responds to boundaries, which like a lot of folks don't know how to respond to boundaries. Like you said, they can be disappointed, but not take that out on you. So even like I encourage my clients, especially just because they get attached so quickly, once you've set up a date from a dating app, let's go ahead and send the message. Great. So excited to meet you. I prefer to build connection in person. So you won't hear from me much until then, but let's touch base the day or two before. Yeah. Set the expectation that we're not going to be chit chatting all day long and getting into texting where it feels like we're in a relationship, because that's what gets my clients into trouble with their attachment. And then it's also a nice opportunity to see some guys are like, well, why can't we just text, right? It's like, because I said no. So it gives you an opportunity to see how they handle that. And some men who are the kind of men that my clients are looking for, they're like, thank you so much for letting me know. I never know how much to text a woman before a date. I don't want to do too much. I mean, the right partners appreciate direct, but warm and compassionate communication.
And that's the thing I've learned about boundaries doing this work and having these conversations on Flirtations is your boundaries are not always about you putting up the wall, you being defensive, trying to shut someone out. Your boundary is an invitation. Your boundary is more of a bridge. Your boundary is saying, hey, I actually want to get to know you. I want to see about getting closer to you, maybe explore a relationship. And this is how I need to do that.
Oh, yeah. I love that you said that. Boundaries are an invitation.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, I'm telling you exactly so you know what I need and what I don't. And that's really helpful to healthy partners.
Absolutely.
Like, the people who have problems with that are probably not for you.
Probably. Not for you. No. We don't need to tease that out anymore. Not for you.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. We got to come back to, I started to ask this question, and then we got on a very wonderful tangent, which I loved. And now coming back to, so what does maybe healthy attachment or kind of a more balanced spark look like? You know, this classic question, love bombing versus genuine interest.
Well, genuine interest is never going to, you know, require you to like abandon what you need, cancel your doctor's appointment, feel like you have to say yes, not have time with your friends, that kind of stuff. But like a healthy spark, I mean, I do like to give the example of my story with my husband because I do think it's useful. You don't need to have a spark. And I know we just harped on that. My husband and I, when we met, we had such great he knows I talk about this. He showed up to our date in the dead of summer wearing a hooded leather jacket that he thought it was cool. He wanted to look cool. I did not think it was cool. I had like an immediate, a little bit of an ick. And I was like, oh, we'll see. Like, I don't know. I wasn't that excited about him. I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm going to the state. And we had such great conversation. We ended up holding hands under the table by the end. Now we also were having like some drinks, but you know, we had dinner and a couple drinks.
Oh, yeah.
Like we held hands under the table and then things did progress like decently quickly for us. But along the way, we always said to each other, this feels really right, but this is kind of crazy how quickly we feel connected and like how quickly we feel like we love each other. And so it wasn't like, I love you, like, this is so amazing. And the stereotypical kind of toxic romanticism, as I call it, we were quite grounded and realistic in our conversations with each other. We would literally say to each other, I really like you. And I recognize that like, there's so much I don't know about you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm falling for you, which feels crazy, but also it feels right and not in this like surface level chemistry way only, but we've had these deeper conversations I've never had with anybody else. Yeah. And we ran into like a big miscommunication around sex actually like 2 weeks into knowing each other and had to handle that. And like I stormed out and like he called me on the phone and I came back and we repaired. And I was like, I've never had a partner be able to repair like that, you know? So I think that you can have that spark, but along the way, and I just had a client go through this too, where she met a guy in January and she knows she wants to have kids. He knows he wants to have kids. She's getting to the point where biologically that would be tough if she waited too much longer. So, you know, they just moved in together this summer. And the whole way though, they've been having these great conversations and touching base about like, how's this feeling for you? This feels a little crazy, you know, let's like also have maybe my husband and I had an exit plan when we moved in together, which is like the least sexy thing you could think of. But it's not saying, hey, this isn't going to work out. It's let's not kid ourselves here. We're signing a lease after knowing each other for 4 months and the lease is 13 months. So what's going to happen if living together especially reveals that we're not quite as compatible as we thought? And we wrote it out, like who would keep the apartment? Where would we go? Who would pay what? And as we bought things for the apartment, we had a little spreadsheet and it was like, Kelsey bought this. It was this much money so that if we had to get to that point, we were prepared to do it. So I think there's ways to progress quickly while still staying grounded.
Yes, I agree. And what I feel like I'm hearing, even when the spark is there, it's not absent these really open and honest conversations. Like I think sometimes daters have the spark and it only exists right on the phone, on social media. You're texting a bunch and, oh, like we have such a spark. Okay. But what are you doing? What's the point? What are you talking about? Are you just texting? Are you just checking in? Is it just good morning and good night? Are you just sending pictures? What's going on? Are you actually looking to cultivate and perhaps co-create a relationship, or is this just texting?
Right? I love that.
Like maybe you are hooking up and you have the spark there, but there's not kind of this rounding out of the connection. It might that might be the only way you're connecting. And now you're not talking about, where are we going with this? What are we doing? Are you seeing other people? Are we dating now? What do you want?
Oh, yeah.
What do I want? And so I think it's really important that even if you have a connection that develops somewhat quickly, that's okay. You still, but you're having those emotional check-ins, like you're still talking, and it goes both ways.
That's exactly right. I love that you use the word co-create too, because that's a word that I use in my world. Like, let's co-create this relationship together. And like, what does love mean to us? What do we want this to look like? What's important to us? What are our values? Like, having those kind of conversations, it changes the whole game of moving quickly, and that you can move quickly and to have it still be healthy.
Yes. If
you're having those deeper conversations.
It's one of my favorite ways to think about dating and relationships is this co-creation. I think it it centers both people in the dating process. I mean, if we're talking about kind of more monogamous relationship and dating style, but it takes some of the pressure off of you to like have it all figured out, or like we got to read the other person's mind, or even like it just makes it more collaborative, which I think is ultimately where I see dating going. And I like that.
I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. Like creating an equal partnership.
Yeah.
And defining what you want that to look like.
All right, Kelsey, let's ask this question. Oh my gosh. We don't have that much more time left. Just a couple more things.
Okay.
Who knew a conversation on love bombing was going to go so quickly?
Yeah.
No surprise there. So if you find yourself being love bombed, what do you do? Is this like, do you say something? Do you put up a boundary? Yeah. What a strategy or two there.
Yeah, you certainly can. I think it depends on what you're running into. You know, for me, if I guess, everybody's tolerance would be different. Like if I encountered a man who was like trying to displaying any kind of controlling behavior, like that's too short, you can't wear that or whatever, like I'm out. But that's just because of my strong values in like regards to that. But yeah, certainly you can say something and say, hey, that doesn't sit well for me. That feels a bit, like you're trying to control what I'm able to wear, who I'm able to talk to or not. And if they're receptive and they're like, oh shit, I didn't even think about it that way. You're so right. That's my insecurity. Great. For me, there's no bigger green flag than self-reflection and being willing to actually work on something. Yeah. So I think you can always make the ask if you feel like, hey, I want to give this person the opportunity to correct. But if you're not getting receptivity, or I'll work on it, but okay, how are you working on it? What's your plan for working on it? And you're not seeing any progress, then I would probably get out of there. And I also wanted to kind of touch on like how to protect yourself from love bombing too, which is aside from just knowing what the red flags are, I think it really comes back to your relationship with yourself too, because when we're confident in ourselves, red flags are no longer red flags, right? They're deal breakers. That's a great quote by Mandy Hale that I love. And so when you're approaching dating from a place of needing validation or feeling like you're running out of time and you have this urgency, or you're bored and you're lonely, it's normal that you're going to want to soothe that feeling. So the first person who makes you feel something or makes you think this could be it, or like, oh my gosh, like this is really going somewhere, you might latch to them. And that is part of the moving too quickly and getting attached too quickly. So when you can really be good with yourself and feel like, yeah, I'd like to have a partner, but I don't like need that. I don't need a person to make me feel validated. I know that I have plenty of time and I can family plan on my own, or I can do other things, to think about different ways to have children if that's like a thing that's driving the urgency. If we can get that in check and make sure you're living a fulfilling life that you're not bored with, or, you're going to feel lonely sometimes, but meeting that need in a healthy way, you're going to be a lot less susceptible to love bombing.
That's true. That's a good point. I find myself in that exact space a lot of the time, single and dating, with a lot of the flirties, balancing this, choosing myself, but also wanting to be chosen or at least be somebody's person.
Totally.
Right? And so how do I create this full life for myself, center myself, and still sit with that loneliness sometimes? It could be, going to bed by myself, or it's a Sunday morning, or just when you're feeling so overwhelmed and stressed and just like needing someone to just be like, it's going to be okay kind of thing. Or just like reminding you to, get your laundry out of the dryer for the 5th day in a row.
Yeah.
Something. How to just be with that whole experience. If you are single, if you relate to any of that, and that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Sometimes, and we have to be okay with not being okay too. Right.
Yeah. And it's hard. I mean, it's definitely not easy. But I think what's harder is ending up in a toxic relationship.
Oh gosh, yeah. We're not doing that, flirties.
It's not like you don't need to be perfect, and you're not going to be. I don't know anyone who's ever changed a pattern mentally or emotionally, just like, oh, I noticed that and now I just won't do it anymore. I mean, it doesn't work.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
So just catching yourself. I mean, that's what I work a lot with my clients on, is like, oh, okay, let's notice that happened. And maybe what are we really reaching for there? Like companionship, connection, validation, and all of those things are normal human needs to want.
Yes.
But even just naming for yourself and noticing what's happening, I like to say, like, sit back in the control panel of your brain, like the characters in Inside Out, and see it.
Yeah.
That's where you get that space from it, where you can observe it instead of being subject to it, where you're fused with it. And it feels like, I can't help it. That's just what happens. But when you get some space from it to observe, that's where you have a little bit of a pause. And where you have a pause, you have a little bit of choice of how you want to move differently.
More choice. And if you're looking for help with those choices and moving differently, where can the flirties find you, follow you, and work with you, Kelsey?
Yeah, the best place is probably over on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. So just at Kelsey Wonderlin.
Fantastic. Yeah. I will have those or some links in the show notes below for this episode. We mentioned the free dating app class training. And are you accepting new clients? Can the flirties?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, and I have a bunch of different programs at different budgets and levels of support. So if you want to grab something that you just implement on your own, that's great. I have some group Q&A stuff going on every month. And then I also do one-on-one.
All right. I will send all the flirties your way. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
No, this was so fun and so great. And I hope it's helpful for the listeners. So thank you so much for having me. I
know it will be. Kelsey Wonderlin, thank you so much for being on Flirtations today.
Thank you.
All right, flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations, the love bombing episode of the program with Kelsey Wonderlin. I got some links below in the show notes for this episode to check out Kelsey's work, the freebie for the dating apps there for you to follow Kelsey. It's all there for you. Check it out. Thank you, Kelsey, for being on the show today to talk about love bombing. Thank you to the flirties for being here to be part of this conversation. Please rate, review, subscribe to the show if you haven't already done so. If you have, thank you so much. And then share this episode or another favorite with someone you want to share some BFE, big flirt energy with, keeping it short and sweet as I sign off here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and gay Libra flirty. Happy flirting.